Okay, we have started the streaming. Just a minute, let me start the recording. Yeah. So we have started the recording and the streaming.
Yeah. And you go on with the session, right?
Yeah. So Anisha, you can start.
Yeah, okay. So, hello everyone. Good evening, everyone. Very warm welcome to all of you present here to yet another session of Baatcheet Session, proudly presented by our most favorite, Corbett House of IIT Madras. So, I am Anisha Varga, the host for today's gathering, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to guide you through that what promises to be a truly inspiring evening. This session have always been about sparking conversations, sharing ideas, and building connections. And tonight is like there is no exception in it. This is only one who is going to be on. Okay. Our theme for today is from numbers to narratives. Yeah. So it is one of the beautiful bridges between two worlds, the precision of data and the creativity of design. We often think of numbers as cold, rigid, and technical. But when it is paired with thoughtful designs, they can tell stories that resonate deeply with people. They can shape your decisions, inspire, even reflect your identity. Doesn't that sound fascinating? Yeah. So tonight we will explore how numbers can transform into human-centered stories that speak not just to the mind but to the heart. So now it's time to introduce the star of the evening. Yeah, we are absolutely thrilled to welcome Youvna Salian, an exceptional UX designer whose work stands at the intersection of the creativity and analytics. Youvna's design philosophy is rooted in a powerful idea that experience becomes truly meaningful when they are informed by data and by human behavior. Her projects are it's like truly commendable. Her projects highlight how design is not just about aesthetics but about empathy, accessibility, and storytelling. In our talk today, she will take us on a journey to discover how data becomes more human centered when reframed as a stories, actions, or identities. She will show us how numbers, when thoughtfully interpreted, can move beyond charts and graph to become narratives. So let's put our hand together and give a warm and enthusiastic welcome to Youvna Salian.
Thank you so much, Anisha. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah,
I saw a few messages down there. I can hear you well. I hope I'm also just as audible
yeah,
to everyone. All right. I'm so glad to be here. I want to thank Yash and Manthan for coordinating and making this happen. And I'm really excited about this session. I've been working, I'll give you a little background on what I've been doing. And again, thank you so much for the introduction, Anisha. I'm very humbled. I don't think I've reached that stage in my career yet or in my design journey yet, but I hope to be there soon. And this is one of the golden stepping stones there for me. I'm really glad to be here and be able to. I hope I'll be able to provide some value to you with what I'm bringing today. I've been working on a collective case study, studying products that we use every day. The simplest of applications that we frequently engage with, like Zomato and Uber, Ola, Swiggy, and we're all connected on different platforms, social platforms, uh, and continuously keep interacting with each other through these. It's essential that what it brings to us and what drives our behavior while we're interacting with these platforms should be something that comes from a place of responsibility. And a lot of that responsibility is held in the data that is in the back end of the programs that come to us. So I will be able to, I think, start from a little bit of a generic analogy and then move on to some examples. Maybe we'll discover how data speaks to people through those examples. And I'll try to keep it as light as I can. I don't want to make this too heavy or boring. It's a very interesting topic, very personal to me also. So I hope I can bring that to you. Let me share my screen. Just let me know once you can see it. Just a second. I hope my controls are off. Is it on full screen for you?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, all right. So, firstly, imagine yourself in a crowd of people. Picture being in a classroom because you're students. That's most natural to you to imagine yourself in, or uh, in a metro compartment, in a congested railway block, or just about any place, a garden park, or even these screens where we're all prompted in different little boxes. There will always be a bunch of if most of us have our I can't see anyone right now, but I can't see a lot of people right now, but my controls are off. But if you can see amongst yourselves, there will be a bunch of people wearing the same Crocs sandals or a similar shirt, or maybe someone who shows up in a neon jumpsuit. And there will always be things we find in common and others that stand out. Mapping it all out in tables and charts or graphs makes it data for us to find patterns in. And these observable patterns lead you to drawing insights from them. So, of course, data in itself is a very human picture. It it will it's much like a bunch of us standing in a crowd. So it is sometimes, frankly, a little ridiculous to think that some of us that using something so inherently raw and human, we end up building for utopian happy paths and averages and perfect personas that don't quite reflect the messiness and rawness and humanness, most importantly, as expansively. Sometimes that is when we find a data human gap. Now, what I'm going to show in the next slide is something I want you to read out loud or in your heads and sit with it for a moment. Data, data everywhere, not a drop of human. Sit with it. Don't worry, it's not entirely true, which is why the question mark is a very diplomatic accessory I've added there. I think it sounds a little harsh to say this, but I wrote it down to acknowledge that sometimes there is a data human gap that goes neglected, and we don't do much about it. You and I, as the brains and hands working behind these products that people use, we must advocate to reduce these gaps. Data becomes human centered when it's reframed as stories, actions, or identity. This is something that I'd like to explain with a few examples. So let's jump into one of my favorite examples. Uh, what you see here is a screenshot of my Swiggy. And last month, I ordered burrito bowls from Taco Bell 5 times, if you can see that here. Like ordered from here this month. And I'm thinking, okay, thanks, Swiggy, for that. Am I embarrassed much? I was a little. I know this is probably just me, but I'm thinking, how much money did I spend on these orders? And how many calories of worth of junk food did I consume while placing these orders, right? I don't want to know. And for the sake of my own sanity, I do not want to do the math. My UPI payment history doesn't want to do the math. But what if it was rephrased like this? Found your comfort food? You kept coming back 5 times this month. It's still the same piece of information that is coming down to me. No, I'm clearly when I read this, I'm clearly thinking of the calories, the money spent, and the math that I don't want to do. But if it is reframed, the same data that Swiggy collects from looking at my repeat orders or boxes like frequently ordered or previously ordered, things like that in several other platforms. When it's reframed like this, it flips things. It tells me why I'm ordering and not just how many times, right? Let's break that down a little. When it shows me how many times I've ordered, I'm thinking of things that I don't want to think about: calories, money, like I said. But when I read this, it it has reframed it into a positive correlation with the number of times I've ordered. Now back that up a little more and think about why a platform like Swiggy wants me to read this information. Any guesses? Is it okay if we take questions in the middle on the go?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So any thoughts on any, like, give me your first few guesses. Like, why do you think Swiggy wants me as a user to have this information, or you as a user to have this information?
I guess like it's your
We
comfort food,
connect
so you
with
will order it again.
familiarity and we will order it again.
Yes, to help you reorder something because you've previously ordered it. Okay, you're familiar
I
with
have
what
a
you've had.
guess actually.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
when you're indecisive about things, when you cannot decide what you want to order, so you'll think, okay, I have my comfort food. Let me
Yeah,
just order this and call it a day.
absolutely, absolutely. So, any more guesses? Do we have anything else in mind? Okay, all right. If there's anything in the chat box, I just need you to know I do not have access to my controls. I cannot see the chat. So if there's anything, please feel free to interrupt me in the middle.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
sure. People, if you're having any questions for ma'am, just raise your hands. We'll call you out.
Please just call me Youvna. I would prefer if you addressed me like that. Thank you so much. Yeah, coming back to this. Yeah, all the guesses were absolutely on point. It is exactly what Swiggy wants, is the reason that Swiggy wants you to have this information. If you look at these screens here, you see the bottom navigation here has this little reorder button. And what it does is it helps you cut down on the decision making time. If there is something that I already know, there's evidence that I've ordered this before, I've liked it, and there's a reason I've reordered it. So the goal behind letting me know that I've ordered this 5 times from here this month is that um, there is evidence for me that I've liked it, and it'll be easier for me to make this decision by easily placing the reorder tab very upfront for me to access. Right. This is also sometimes called past orders or frequently ordered sometimes on different platforms. Sometimes it will also tell me other people who have highly reordered an item or have ordered from a place that is well rated. This is exactly what ratings help us do. It helps us form an opinion about what we're going to buy, right? So between me and Swiggy, uh, it's like Swiggy is telling me why waste time scrolling in the explore section. I have Instagram and LinkedIn to spend my time scrolling on. But yeah, this number basically helps me make a decision. It prompts me to make a decision. So all of these are good things to do. You're probably going to end up ordering Taco Bell anyway. Why waste time or why delay that? So faster decision making is definitely it. Another way that you could reframe it would be like doing something like what Spotify does. You're officially a Taco Bell super fan, or this is not the best UX copy, I get it, but you get the idea. You've ordered more than 95% of users this month. So think of how uh, how data, when presented in different ways, speaks to you and how that makes you feel. Like if this number prompts me to make a decision, that's great. But do I have to feel bad about it when I read something like this? It doesn't, right? I'm not saying this always makes everyone feel bad. And of course, this is a very specific example to me. And to be fair, I may still go ahead and order. That's just me. And the thing is that maybe the next time, if this number is smaller I'll probably be happy about it. Instead of 5, if I see 3 times this month, I'm probably going to think I've made better choices. And that's not so good for conversions, thinking long term. Again, this is a very small example, and of course, a lot of data backed factors play into it, but this is speculation. What we're doing here is speculation to purely encourage thinking about how the data that we present in products is received by people. And I'm saying people, not users, because it's like even as designers, as UX designers, it is important for us to be mindful of that. Yes, they are users, it is not wrong. But sometimes a little shift in thinking of them as people and not reducing them to users gives us perspective. We're building this for a person to use. We're creating and designing for people. Would it kill us to have some empathy? Yeah. Uh, so, in a sense, the minute I'm not left at the mercy of processing numbers, but thinking of it as something personal, it has the power to completely change the narrative. I'm no longer thinking of the calories or the money, but I'm associating it with something rather positive. That, oh, I've found my comfort, like one of you said, right? Like, I've found my comfort food to slip into for the weekend. I've a cheat meal for an exhausting week that I've had doesn't seem so bad. It's okay. Or that I've ordered more from here than 95% of consumers on Swiggy. I'm Taco Bell super fan now. I know it sounds a little cringe, but note how a simple shift from focusing on the numbers to a narrative does something else also. It detaches the shame and guilt in ordering from a place that I love. I like ordering from Taco Bell. Why should I have to feel bad about it? That's the whole point. In thinking about our work processes in building products from research, data analysis, design prototyping, um, I think today, fortunately, we're sitting on okay, fortunately, unfortunately, it's debatable because of how energy is consumed and biases play out. But we are sitting on a gold mine of tools and processes that help us clean and find patterns and gather data, make predictions that guide decision making and solve problems, build experiences. And data science and design work wonderfully together to produce golden honey from the comb. We're processing information into actionable knowledge. And it doesn't stop there. It is equally important to think about how to use that actionable knowledge. Again, when we think of presenting data and products, it's important to think how that information will be received as well and what impact it would leave on the people using them. So when we attempt to think beyond numbers and values and think of what they really tell us, it makes it easier to weave those narratives out of numbers. I like to think of it as the three data musketeers. It's a little wordplay on the three musketeers that can help us get to doing exactly that. So firstly, um, it's stories, actions, and identity. Those are the three musketeers, like I earlier mentioned. And let's start with stories first. And when I say stories, I don't exactly mean stories in the way we've heard about and understood data storytelling per se, but I think of stories as thinking in metaphors. You know how we read fiction? We have a protagonist in place in an environment, a setting, and it has other people, characters, a plot line that speaks to us, connects with us. Think of presenting data and products like that. How do we make it relatable, closer to life? The better it does that, the more likely users are to be able to trust it. So it is, in a sense, appealing to their pathos or their emotions. Again, I just want to clarify, I don't mean this in a way to emotionally manipulate them, because that happens and leads to dark patterns, and that is never something that we should be advocating for, and I do not condone it. But yes, the more we're able to use persuasive design principles with using the data that we have in place, I think we'll be able to make better products. For instance, here's an example from a period tracking app I use called Clue. And I've been using Clue to track my menstrual cycles for a few years now. So you can imagine the amount of data that it already has on what my cycle looks like. Stats will show you the length of the cycle, the variation, and a bunch of analytical information based on the past data. uh, it will then predict estimates on my next cycle. It What it also does is, as a health app, it also compares it with period health standards of what a regular menstrual cycle should look like and how mine stands against it. It gives information like a retrospective story to me. Uh, so look at these pieces of information here. 3 out of your last 6 cycles were typical. So it's not only giving me information on how my cycles were, but it's also averaging that out in a way that is most relevant to me. And I see a short recap, in a sense, like a retrospective story of what my cycles have been like. What have they looked like? What were my symptoms and how have they changed? Uh, and because it is data backed and it is showing me with the said data, it builds enough credibility for me to bank my trust on it. So that, let's say, if Clue predicts that I might get my period on X date, I trust that I might actually get it on that day, with a grace period of 1 or 2 days here and there. Okay. Notice more on the retrospective story like approach. Things like, okay, it's a little cut off here, but dive deeper into your past period data. So bits like that reel you in to learn more about all that you've tracked: your moods, symptoms, pain, blood flow, among other things. So there's layers to this story. And that's where they're nudging an action to unlock my analysis. So they've piqued my interest with the data that I've fed to it and that they've analyzed and provided to me in the most relevant way. And now I'm hooked, and now I want more. And I personally don't need more because this is all I needed to track it. But this is behind a paywall. This is behind a subscription. But it is very helpful for people who might want to track their period in a more in some more depth or with more details. And it is exactly at that point where it nudges with this CTA. It is not only action nudging, but also subtly persuasive. So this app makes it personal for me with relevant information in these small presentations of data. And it builds enough trust for me as a user to, excuse me, to continue using the application. And I've graded this out because this is the next data musketeer. It's about action nudging. So how do we nudge an action with data? Imagine the cab booking apps on your phone, Uber, Ola, Rapido, Maru cabs, if any of you use Maru. Do we use Maru? I don't know. But I've taken the example of Uber here. Notice how it says, it has picked up information on your geographical location, how far the rider is, and what is the estimated time of arrival. So based on that, based on the collective data, it tells you that your pickup is going to be in 3 minutes at the given pickup point. And that's helpful in itself. But it adds this second layer of information telling me to leave by X time to meet this driver. And that's no longer data. It's a clear action that I can take as a user. And that's way more human centered. I don't have to, now I've written math eliminating because I'm pretty sure there are many people like me who do not want to think how when exactly do I need to leave from my room and shut the door and get down. Okay, leave by 2027 is leave by 8:27 is very on point for me. I don't have to think much about it. I'm sure there are many more people like me who aren't very fond of doing small mathematics. And I realize as someone who's sorry, as someone who's giving a presentation on data, this may not come up as the best impression, but it's true. And there are a lot of people like me because of whom uh, Uber and other apps like Uber have decided to put this information down. We think about we think of humans in averages, and yeah, I'm just glad in knowing there are more people like me. Uh, Third is identity, and I like this example as well. It's okay. Firstly, any Swifties here? Anybody? Anybody? Please unmute and let me know. Wrong crowd.
No, no. Here, like there are Swifties. I won't exactly call myself a Swiftie because like I like many things, to be honest. I have ADHD, so I
Okay.
just boom. It's boom. I like one thing. Like it becomes my hobby overnight.
Lovely, lovely. That's nice. I like that. I'm also not a Swiftie. I just wanted to connect with people here, and I'm not very happy that that failed. But it's okay. It's good to hear that you have a diverse music taste. I listen to a lot of instrumental music, if you're thinking. But anyway, beyond the point. Spotify does this brilliantly. So instead of saying that you listened to 24 hours of music in December, it will say that you're in the top 1% of Taylor Swift listeners worldwide. And like that, the data isn't about time anymore or the number of times you've listened to a song or a particular genre or an artist or a band, but it's about who you are. You are centered at it. You are the user, and it's very user centric, very human in that sense. um, Sorry, human in that sense. Or at least it makes you feel like who you are if it's not about you, who you are. That is precisely the reason why we share it on Instagram. Makes it sociable and shareable. And so far, I think we've looked at examples like this of products that we use every day. Um, can you think of any other products uh, like any other music streaming platforms perhaps, or cab booking, food booking platforms, dining platforms, reservation platforms, things like that, where you would like to share any of the three data musketeers that you may have spotted? Anything on, actually, I think I could just go back to this slide where we have the three musketeers.
Yeah, Hariom, I think you have raised your hand.
Yes, do we have questions?
So like we have in Hotstar, we might see that since you have watched this, you might also like this, or in Netflix.
Yeah, yeah. uh, Absolutely, that's Hotstar, Netflix. Based on your previous watches, or because you liked X movie. These are similar movies, basically on the same line of genre, or the same actor is probably on it. Yeah, that's a good catch. Nice example. Any other examples? That was a good one to notice how we present data. How else?
Uh, we have Nagendra who's also raised a hand. Nagendra, you may
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question, but it might be a little different,
Okay.
what I was saying. So, while creating any dashboard, while creating any data visualization dashboard, so
Yeah.
what are the important things that we need to keep in mind in order to make our dashboard very interactive?
Okay.
I mean, if you could give a couple of, I mean, I'm not sure whether it is relevant a question here or not, but it
Okay.
would be helpful.
Okay. Uh, Dashboards. I think dashboards basically give you an overview of everything else that you can go into, multiple pages, or like it could redirect you to the inner pages with more information, perhaps. Now, you're looking at the top 3 or 4 metric cards that will give you the most relevant information that you, as like whatever your profile is. Let's say on a dashboard, multiple people might be looking at the same dashboard, but with different pieces of data. Let's say I'm an admin, so I'm looking at uh, the pieces that are most relevant to me. So if I'm an admin and I want to look at, let's say on let's say if this is a job creation portal or something like that, and I'm looking at all the jobs that have been created for the purpose of this example of the dashboard. Okay, so I want to see how many jobs were created in this month, how many jobs I would like, how many jobs have been completed, what is the status on the tasks. So maybe those are the top 3 things that are relevant to me as an admin. I want to see those things. Now, if we change that profile to, let's say, the job performer, the executor of the job, or a technician, the technician is probably going to be looking at other pieces of relevant information, like what are the jobs that are assigned to them on that particular day. What are the jobs that are yet to be done, and what are the jobs that they've completed? Maybe those 3 are the top 3 important pieces of information for that profile. So, how many jobs are remaining? How many jobs are in the active status, or currently ongoing status, or how many jobs are yet to be done? Those could be maybe some important metrics would be there. Now, because it was a generic question, I tried to use a specific example to uh, convey what could be important pieces. But this is very, I'm sorry, just a second, am I echoing?
Sorry, you're not audible.
I'm not audible?
No, no, there was some background noise.
Okay,
So can you repeat whatever you said?
sure. Is the background noise on my end?
I,
Please mute Nagendra.
yeah, Nagendra said. Okay, no issues.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Again, I'm so sorry. I can't look at all the controls, so I may have not been able to see that well. Should I back up a little? Let me back it up a little. Okay. So, because the question seemed a little generic by what could be the most important things to go on a dashboard, this could be it should always be relevant to who is going to be using it. So, depending on different profiles, whoever is going to be having access to the information, I think the top 3 or 4 things that you show there should be most relevant to that user profile. And if you have a lot of data heavy pieces of information, like if you have long names for, let's say, if this is a job portal sort of a thing, if you have the names of jobs written, and if that's taking a lot of space, maybe the dashboard needs more real estate. Maybe look at the side navigations and how could they be collapsed or expanded accordingly. If there's if there are longer text based pieces, maybe you might want to truncate them, or add something like a read more facility to redirect them to more information on a different page, or maybe expand it temporarily or show it on a tooltip if it's not too long. If it's mostly numbers, you might want to highlight the most important numbers there, embolden the things that are most relevant, use enough contrast there. I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure if it was exactly on the path of what you were discussing. Does that answer your
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it's helpful. And how we need to be choosy about the colors, because colors also matter, right? A lot while creating the dashboard.
Okay,
To be more
I
catchy.
think it would. No, I don't think it's as simple as making it simply catchy. I think it should always be in line, firstly, in line with uh, the brand. So if this is a platform like, say, HubSpot, you have dedicated colors to it. If it's any other enterprise platform, they will always have some branding in place unless it's a white label product. If it is a white label product, then you should stick to minimal use of colors. Or if you're a white label product and you provide the option to customize it for your clients, then you might want to define uh, the color contrasts based on accessibility guidelines. So stick to WCAG guidelines, and you should be okay there for accessibility on the accessibility front. That's that. So it's not like which colors to use. It's mostly about, whatever colors you do end up using, they should be able to highlight the important pieces of information well enough within that color palette, within the color scheme. Yeah, stick to neutrals if you're really unsure about it. Yeah, I mean, or you know what, just hire a designer. I think that should be the best answer. You should always uh, leave that up to the professionals. I hope that answers it. Hi. Hello.
Yeah,
Yes,
yes,
yes, he is able to.
and what are the
Sorry.
Nagendra, you're saying something?
yeah, I mean, yeah. So, being a UX designer, what are the
Yeah.
challenges or difficulties you face in day-to-day life of your job?
Oh, Nagendra, that's a very broad question. I feel like if I get into that, I might be moving away from this topic.
Yeah,
Would it be
actually,
okay
we
if
have a
I?
Q&A session. We have a
Yeah.
Q&A session in the last 30 minutes. So I think that question can be addressed there.
I'll be happy to pick this up again. Please note your questions in that regard.
Yeah,
Thank you
sure,
so much.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
Yeah. We'll come back to this. If we're not able to cover it today for any time constraints, I'm happy to take this up after the session also. Please do reach out. All right. Is it okay if we move on? I'm going to take that as yes.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Please, Youvna's okay. Youvna's okay. Okay, so the three data musketeers. So I know that a lot of you mentioned a few examples, and that's nice. I want you to have them in the back of your mind when we go forward. I think I'll skip a little bit of back and forth here. I think we took a few questions, so we'll move ahead. How else can we present data, right? We so far in our examples, like the ones that you shared and the ones that I shared, we've covered how we see data in the common ways of presenting data were in either text pieces of information or visual pieces of information. Like some of you mentioned, charts and graphs, and we could have dashboards. How else, as a medium, do you think we can present data? Or if there is any example that you've maybe come across where data was not in these conventional forms? Any of the examples that come to your mind? We can take a moment to go over those. Take a second. Was that a lot of ASMR?
No, it's fine.
All right. Okay, if you don't have any examples on the go, that's all right. Keep thinking about them on the go along the presentation. I'm sure at the end of it, at least, you will have something that should pop up in your head.
So
So,
pie charts, etc., like the basic visualization tools.
yes, data visualization is a great tool. Yes. If it wasn't visual or if it wasn't textual, what do you think could be other ways of presenting data, if at all?
In infographics,
Infographics is still visual and textual, right? If you eliminate it, okay, yes, I think I should reframe the question. what if we eliminate text and visuals? Um, or at least from the limelight, if the main data presentation was not a piece of text or something visual, how else could we present data?
Like in Spotify ads, like in ads, they tell us to buy the subscription, even though. So, would that be possible?
Yes. So
Way
what
to
is
present the
Spotify
data.
doing with that? I like that. I like where you're thinking, and I want more of you to think along those lines. Like what was it, Akash?
Yes, yes, Akash. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. So, what is Spotify doing when it's giving you an ad? Spotify is inherently a listening, it's a platform for listeners. So, it is an audio form of some data. Now, okay, maybe they're not giving you exact data information or pieces of information in the ads, but it's true. It is an audio piece of track that's running, because the people who are engaging with Spotify platforms, yes, it is fairly visual and textual because it is an application that you interact with, and it's on a tangible device. But you're also listening to a lot of things, so it makes sense for them to embed a bit of their information through things like adverts, like you mentioned. So I actually have an example that I'd like you to.
Ma'am,
That
through
I'd
Geo
like to,
7,
sorry,
through Geo 7, ma'am.
Progeo 7.
Yes, yes.
So
They are
Geo
I
7 do
ad-
the same thing. Like
Use
recently, Geo
Strava.
7 is also a streaming service like
Geosa.
Spotify.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I didn't catch it well. Okay, yeah, Geosa. Yeah, yeah. A lot of music streaming platforms like that could be in the same bucket, I suppose. Um, let's look at this example of a project on data sonification. So the pieces of data that you will listen to here have been audified or sonified. So this particular one, is a piece of sonified data on the frequency of earthquakes rising in Oklahoma in a period of 10 years. So it starts in it's a little dated. It starts in the early 2000s to the mid 2010s, and it was created by Michael Corey, who is a former senior data editor. So you should definitely look him up and look at their work on the Oklahoma Shakes and other projects also, if you have the time. So what Michael Corey did was that they led a team of data journalists who sought to distill large data sets into compelling and easily understandable stories using the tools of journalism, statistics, and programming. So I'll give you a little gist of this example. Okay, so there's a background to this story on the Oklahoma Shakes. The Shakes is basically for earthquakes. And what happens here is that Oklahoma had become a center for energy reserves in the US around the 2010s. And it had frequent oil drilling processes going on for the same. So one of these processes is called fracking or hydraulic fracking, if any of you are familiar with that term. It is basically when, wastewater is injected into underground disposal wells. I don't want to get too technical, but it basically increases pressure on the fault lines on the subsurface of the earth, and it makes it easier to extract oil. While making it easier to extract oil and energy resources, it also causes earthquakes because of the pressure. Because it triggers these earthquakes, Oklahoma started feeling all these tremors and shivers more frequently, in association, like in correlation with these practices, these energy extraction practices over a period of time. And what happens in that in that period of time is what has been codified as a database. So I'm going to play this for. I'll talk more about this project a little later, but I think Suddenly feels like a geography session. I'm so sorry about that. I did not want to make it a geography session, but I wanted you to have enough context uh, to make this example
Akash is
relevant.
really bad with geography. I think he needs the geography session.
I hope you find it interesting after this one. That's all I can say. But yeah, for a minute, I think if we could all mute ourselves and just listen to this audio, we'll 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 see how this goes on for us. Okay, I'm just going to play this. Can you hear it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm just going to play it. Yeah. Okay. Uh, so this was, if you heard it well, it you must have noticed the different plinks in every few intervals, right? Every plink is a representation of one earthquake that took place in Oklahoma. So the lower the pitch and the louder the note, the bigger was the earthquake. So in the beginning, you must have noticed, longer intervals and lower pitched ones. So, sorry, the higher pitched ones. So they weren't earthquakes of a higher magnitude. But towards the end of the 2010s, or sorry, the middle of the 2010s, you noticed the frequency increasing, and not only were there more earthquakes in number, but also of higher magnitudes. So, in a sense, it's a very emotional representation of the number of, not only the number of earthquakes, but the number of tragic incidents and deaths that led following these earthquakes. What Michael Corey does in this data presentation is that he takes the data on earthquakes from a global earthquake database, and he runs it through uh, an MID. He translates the data into an MIDI and runs the MIDI file through a synthesizer for more musicality. So it sounds somewhat like an instrumental song, but you only know the meaning when you have some background on it, which is what I wanted to provide you, like the context for it. So they had a sound engineer in place who composed and ran those notes through the synthesizer to add more musicality. And if you are into music, and if you understand, if any of you understand music theory, they chose a D minor as the scale, which has a characteristic sad or serious, ominous sound. If you like listening to true crime documentaries on Netflix, you must have heard ominous music that follows right before the hosts start describing or narrating the events. So something that goes down to deeper levels of data presentations really impacts on how you as a user are consuming that information. So this was a very interesting piece that I came across as an example, and I wanted to share that. I hope it was more than just a geography session. Akarsh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
I hope you found it interesting.
yeah. What the engineer did is he took the frequencies of the earthquake and then he translated it into a music stuff, right?
Yes, actually, it is a well documented project also. I would be happy to share the resources, the links to that. I think, um, yeah, sure, Manthan, if we could do that later. I have a list of all the resources of the examples that I've shared here. And we could also take it up in the Q&A session more deeply if you're interested.
Yeah, okay.
All right, all right. Next, I think this is, okay, man, can't go ahead. Okay. Yeah, it's basically about all the airs. Like so far, we've looked at data examples that have been running. We've looked at the good sides of data. We've looked at how data presentations could be improved as well. There are some times where we have biases playing out in data, or where it's incorrectly represented, perhaps, or is not passed in a way that is the best practice, so to speak. So about a year or two ago, I was working on another self research project where I was looking at gender biases, or basically, I was looking at gender inclusive UX practices on e retail platforms. And I noticed a lot of gender biases in the algorithms that these platforms had at the time embedded. So I have a few examples there, but I will just go through a small little snippet, like just to lay the base out. Algorithmic gender bias in e-retail platforms. It occurs when the algorithms that drive product recommendations to you and target advertisements and search results to you reflect and perpetuate gender biases that were present in the data that they were trained on. So in 2021, there was a study by USwitch, which is a comparison and switching service. It revealed that automated suggestions on predicted text are often gender biased. So what it did was tested a series of adjectives on smartphones, including the Samsung Galaxy S21 and iPhone 12, using the phrase "you are a dash." So in the dash, they inserted an adjective. So on um, on determining the search results of the 236 adjectives that were tested, 72% suggested a gender biased response overall. And on iOS, almost two-thirds of words generated a male biased response. A similar bias in word associations was studied by Princeton University researchers, where they used off the shelf machine learning AI software to analyze and link about 2.2 million words. And what they found was that the words woman and girl were more likely to be associated with the arts instead of science and math, which were more likely to be connected to males, by which I think they meant men. But let's observe a similar bias in word associations on e-retail platforms like clothing platforms. So what you see here is a screenshot from a popular Indian e-commerce platform uh, for fashion and lifestyle products. And out of curiosity, I searched for unisex items. Of the 15,000 something, so this is like when the search results were generated, the screenshot for that. And of the 15,000 something items that you see tagged unisex, 4K something are caps, 20 something are baby shower caps, 8 are shower caps and headbands, but you'll see 0 are clothes to put on the body. And that says a lot. And okay, this was out of curiosity, looking up unisex, and that's probably not a common search. So I went with some commonly searched for products like dresses, trousers, t-shirts. But this time I didn't want to see what would show up in the search results, but what would show up in the autocomplete predictions. So I searched for trousers, dresses, and t-shirts, And it was interesting to see how gendered the autocomplete predictions are. So look at it closely. Note how normalized it is to gender trousers, t-shirts, and dresses. How we have trousers for women and trousers for men, and that it's not typically something that we would expect to find under anything tagged gender neutral and or unisex. How we have some 6,000 photo frames tagged unisex before 4K caps, but still zero clothes. What happens when we do this is we're basically limiting choice, representation, and inclusivity with such categorization on commonly used popular online shopping platforms. And it reinforces the gender binary. It often leaves those who identify beyond the binary feeling invisible. And it not only impacts, uh, it not only impacts the uh, uh, the user satisfaction, but also limits the potential customer base for businesses. Because think about it, the people buying from Myntra, Amazon, Zara, Agio, and several other fashion and apparel platforms online aren't just men and women or girls and boys, or those who go with he, him, and she, her pronouns. So I think this is a good time to bring out the Spotify example because I think we've covered a bunch of them. So take the Spotify's Discover Weekly feature, for example. So I'm sure many of us use this as a streaming platform or things like JioSaavn. I'm not sure if I have the research for JioSaavn in place, but I know one of you mentioned it earlier in one of the other examples. And when we look at a personalized playlist based on our taste, at the start of the week, every Monday, that sounds great. But here's the problem. Research has shown, I've also put down the names of a short article that has been referenced by the Conversation and Scoof for the purpose of this research. That when people rely on these algorithmic playlists, they end up listening to fewer female and non binary artists compared to when they pick music themselves. So, uh, to think of it differently, in other words, I am more likely to listen to a female or a non binary artist if I custom make my playlist compared to if I listen to a generated Discover Weekly playlist. And why is that? Because the data set that Spotify trains on already reflects an industry skew. So, for instance, for the sake of simplicity, let's say about 80% of the top 1,000 artists are men and about 20% are women. Less than 1% are non binary. Instead of correcting that imbalance, the algorithm unknowingly amplifies it. So, I've often heard counters that this is literally based on the data that we've got from the listeners. So if they want to listen to more male artists over female artists or artists of other genders, how is it Spotify's algorithm at fault, or how can we blame the algorithm for it? It's trying to personalize your music based on your listening preferences. But that's where we need to go back a few steps and we need to consider how we got the data. If there were clear biases with such high disparities in our raw data, what did we do to mitigate them? Did we do anything? Did we do anything to rebalance it? So despite it being unintentional, I'm not immediately associating or trying to associate malice with any streaming platforms like Spotify. And we must always give it the benefit of doubt, sure. But we can, of course, in the very least, acknowledge that it does reinforce some biases. So, thankfully, we have some bias mitigation methods in AI and ML, which I'm sure uh, many of you as students must be familiar with. Data rebalancing is a common one. So, in association with the same example on the go, think of adjusting training data sets to represent underrepresented groups like female or non-binary artists in this example, so that they have a more proportional weight, so that underrepresented groups have a more proportional weight. Because it's not just a music listening or streaming app, right? It is also a music discovery platform. If that discover feed is so biased, sorry, given the lack of rebalancing uh, training data, or questioning if they needed to oversample some part of the data because it is before it is fed to the algorithm, it will navigate into a social problem like this. Okay, so what I've done here is I've added like a question. It's an analogy question, sort of, to maybe put this in perspective in a more specific term of the example. So, how do you go about curating a playlist that doesn't just show the most popular voices but also ensures diversity? This could be a good way to have these questions from the get-go, so that earlier on in your work process, don't wait till the output or even the first alpha release. Think of uh, resolving these earlier in the work processes. So how can we mitigate it early on? For example, the conversation article that I referenced earlier, it highlights that music recommendation algorithms on streaming platforms like Spotify and JioSaavn are inherently biased against female artists and non-binary artists, placing male artists in the top recommendation spots. Why? Because there's a feedback loop that reinforces existing gender imbalances in the listening data. So to address this, what the authors of the research article propose is a simple solution. You can re-rank the recommendations to gradually phase that out, so that you can give more exposure to female artists and non-binary artists over time. And they actually tested it out on a simulation. So I think they had a prototype, and the simulation showed that they could successfully break the loop, and that led to a more balanced music consumption over time, or at least they proposed that it would. So the proposed re-ranking approach is to take the recommendations generated by the basic algorithm and move male artists a few specified positions downwards in the list. Think of it like, adjusting money values for inflation. Like, you just keep a little room for, it's a little more. So here it's a little less, and pushing them down. So a simple intervention like that can be designed to gradually increase the visibility of um, of artists of different genders, and break the feedback loop where a user's consumption of predominantly male artist recommendations leads the algorithm to suggest even more male artists. Like, you'll obviously keep listening to more of that if that is what is fed to you. So that's one way to change it. We can also look at counterfactual intervening. So with this intervention, so as a designer, in design terms, um, we think of, what if scenarios. Like, what if a song were made by a female or a non-binary artist instead of a male? Would the model still recommend it? If yes, how likely is it to recommend it? Think of doing a UX A/B test for fairness. Think of both routes. Like, okay, if it does this, what happens? If it does that, what happens? Look at those conditional variables and test it out early on, so that the final output, is not compromised later. And the last one is an interesting one for bias mitigation. I read about something called binary and spectrum thinking recently, and what it pretty much means is, in some scenarios, when you're thinking of data presentations and products, you might want to uh, think that, okay, there's one way or other of doing it. So that's a binary way of thinking. And sometimes that is important to do. Sometimes things can only be yes and no, for instance. But other times you could consider a spectrum thinking approach where you're thinking of multiple possibilities of how these scenarios could play out. So I was thinking of an example here, and I thought of Instagram. On Instagram, if I'm connected uh, with someone whom I don't want to stay connected with any longer, sometimes we've all heard of people sliding into our DMs with cheesy pickup lines. We don't want that. It's sometimes you get unwanted attention, but socially, maybe it's important to be connected with them on the platform. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. You don't always have to be like, okay, I have to block this person or um, unfriend them, perhaps if you're on Facebook, or that I have to keep responding to this person or something like that. The designers do come up with creative solutions like muting or restricting them. So you're, in a sense, trying to find a middle ground, which is what the radio button or checkbox analogy, that's where it comes in. Like a radio button gives you uh, one option to choose from many, and a checkbox will let you pick many options from the whole list. So you can be considerate of multiple scenarios. That's actually all the material that I had for today, planned for today. And in my very in all my time in working on design projects so far, and my very humble opinions, I can't think of any good design practices today that are devoid of well leveraged tech. We're no longer floating at the intersection of data science and design. We're riding on the wave that is blurring that intersection, which I think is beautiful. By the time you're all students, right? So like by the time you've graduated, or even now, I think you've probably realized the hit of that wave. And like I said, it's beautiful. The products and services we build for people demand more than just functionality. They must function in a way that reflects human tendencies. And a great way to do that is via a data informed approach paired with design thinking. I think Anisha covered the gist of that in the very beginning. And in that, I hope I've been able to share something that you find value in. Thank you so much for this. I'm going to open the floor for any more questions that we couldn't cover earlier. And I hope we do have the time, right? Yash?
Yeah, sure. We have time.
Yeah. All right. I could stop sharing unless I could also reshare again if you want to visit any of the things that I shared in the presentation, or that we could just jump into some questions. Let's actually get into the Baatcheet session. I think I'm a little bit of a yapper. Don't mind me. I hope this was interesting enough.
Even I am one. So
I love that. I love yappers. We should have more yappers, I suppose. Yes. Do we have questions?
okay, so the floor is open for questions. Anybody who wants to have any questions to anybody who has any questions to Youvna ma'am can go ahead and ask those to ma'am. Okay, we have a first hand raised. Diptarko, you can ask. You can ask.
Good evening, ma'am. Actually, I have a non-technical question. May I ask?
Sure. I wouldn't say that yes, my background is technically technical, but I'm more of a design person. So yes, please shoot your question.
So, where are you from actually?
Oh, I'm from Mumbai, but my job is in Ahmedabad, so I've shifted to Ahmedabad. Today I'm in Bangalore. I'm actually visiting family. So that's that. Why? Just
Just like
curious.
that.
Okay. Where are you from?
I am from West Bengal.
How nice. We have another person from West Bengal, right?
I know Isha Halda. She's from West
Isha.
Bengal.
Yes.
Yeah, I have actually met him in one of the meetups that I've
Yeah,
organized.
in Howrah.
I really like how this community goes ahead. I heard a little about it from Manthan, so it was nice to know, and it's nice to see that you all keep meeting and stay in touch. We should do more of these.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we have our next person in line. Bhavya, you can go ahead.
Okay, hello.
Hi.
My question to you is that since we are from a technical background, how do you suggest us to approach design? And what are the topics, what are the things, or what are the tools that we can use,
Hmm.
not in depth, but just in general to, maximize our knowledge in this field?
Okay. So as the one on the other end of that question, I think as a designer, we also have we are continuously engaging with people from the dev team, or we're looking at researchers. We're collaborating with them, right? I would encourage you to do the same with other members of your team working on a project. So if you have to collaborate with other designers, it would be the best way to know what is most relevant to know for you as a technical person on that project. I would not want to go down to any specific tools that you might want to delve into. Like, I think it would be a little generic. But if I really had to drop something, I would say look at more projects where you see data design collaborations, read about them. Some resources would be look at the Dear Data project by Stephanie and Georgia. It's a well documented project. It's called Dear Data. It's beautiful. I wouldn't want to narrate it either. I think you should just look it up. Go to platforms like Information is Beautiful, and yeah, I think those two are the ones that come to my mind right now, off the top of my head. Beautiful presentations of data and design intersections. I think that is where you will probably find some inspiration too.
Also, I wanted to ask you that which app or what exactly did you use to make this presentation that you just showed us?
So if I need to make any assets, I will like any custom assets like shapes or something. I would make them on Figma and then I'll take them to Canva. Now I use Canva for presentations, or I use Pitch for presentations sometimes. Like today I used Canva, but Pitch is also nice. I like Canva for the transitions. I think it's really fitting for story from a storytelling perspective. I really like including some element of motion graphics in a presentation. I think it helps support what I'm trying to convey as well. So I think for the animations and all, I just used the different transitions available on Canva. It's nice. I think and Canva has this awesome collab with no, they've acquired Affinity, haven't they? Affinity is pretty much Illustrator and Photoshop combined in one. So super cool. Like don't think of the tools so much always. I think it's the story that needs to come around. So whatever tools that help you convey your story the best, I think that should be your go-to platform. I used Canva. I've tried Figma slides, uh, and very many years ago it was PowerPoint. So we've come a long way.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bhavya. Do we have any more questions for ma'am? Come on, guys, don't be shy. I
Hari
mean,
Om.
nobody's going to judge you for anything.
I think Hari Om has a question.
Yeah, Hari Om. You may go.
So good evening, ma'am. You actually talked about the gender biasness in music and other industry. So
Yeah.
recently there was a big sale going on the e-commerce platform, and for me, it was when I saw how this gender biasness actually happens in the e-commerce platform.
Okay.
For example, during the Flipkart sales, me and my sister were using the phone, and in my phone it was all about boys' dress and others, and moreover it was all about the gym product and this kind of thing. But
Yes.
once I switched to my sister's phones because she had something like Pro or some version, I don't find the specific product I was looking for, and moreover there it is more about cooking and other thing like
Mm. Yeah.
likewise. So
Yeah.
how this happens and how this actually makes into user experience that we see in current
Yeah.
situation.
Uh, like I happened to mention in some of the examples, right? Um, a- Algorithms are basically running on some data sets, and if that data set has biased input in it, it will play out in the output also. So that is exactly why this is happening. So if a lot of data if your raw data suggests that if your raw data is associating some actions or some behavior or some products with women, like your sister, like you mentioned, if then those things are going to be targeted to your sister by a particular brand that is using this algorithm for their search engine, perhaps. And if there are other products that are that have been historically associated with men, they'll probably be targeted to you. And if we don't cancel out, if we don't rebalance the data and remove those associations which are stereotyped, we will continue to see more of these biases playing out in our products. And then that is how, on the end users side, you see that you get targeted certain kind of products, and your sister gets advertised some other kind of products. And you will continue to see the same divide that plays out on a loop. We need to secure ways of rebalancing it. We need to be informed with what our practices to mitigate those biases in our training data sets. It doesn't always have to be on the end user or the front end design of an application if we're thinking. It can very well be avoided from the get-go, like from the very beginning. I hope that answers it for you.
Yes, actually.
Okay, I think that addresses Hari's question. Do we have any more questions?
I have actually one last question. Can I?
Oh, it doesn't have to be a last question. I have time. I had actually blocked this for an hour and a half, right? 90 minutes. So yeah, we have time. Please go. Please go.
So my question to you is that you're saying that we should make things and our business models and everything user centered. But how do we balance this with our business goals? Because if we turn into user centric and focus more on that, then how do we achieve our business goals?
Right. That's a very good question. So I think the best design solution uh, is not only user centered. It also balances tech feasibility and business goals, like you mentioned. There will be a middle ground. There's always a middle ground that we need to look for, and it's important to find that middle ground, because for your business goals to stay active in the long run, you need your users to be happy and continue using the product. If your product
Yeah.
isn't user centered, it it may not help in getting repeat customers, or in keeping your product alive for a long time, and you don't want that. Sometimes you will have to make hard decisions where you may have to uh, prioritize one goal over the other. It could be a user centered goal that's perhaps clashing with a business goal, or maybe is slowing down a business goal of yours, or is not the easiest to implement tech wise. But that's the whole idea. You need to come up with creative solutions. You need to come up with a design solution that's at the intersection of all these three fronts. It's hard to do, but it's our job, and we've got to do it. We can't do it alone. We need to be in sync with every front of the team. So that's my take on it.
Okay, and can you just give me a few topics or an advice for design thinking and innovation, because I have this subject in my college right now.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that your college has one of these as your modules. It's very important to uh, imbibe design thinking when you're thinking of products. As a person in the tech background, you should definitely be diving deeper, dipping your toes into it. Um, Did you ask me about topics in design thinking?
Yeah. And do you find it relevant right now in the profession that you are?
Of course, this is yeah, that goes without saying. I do not have to think twice about that. It definitely plays out heavily in uh, most decisions that we need to take while we're building a product. So currently, I'm working on a long-term product. I can't. I'm not at liberty to disclose a lot of details about it, but I can say that um, with design thinking, you are making yourself um, an all-rounded person when you think of a solution. So you're not just what your role says that you are. You're not just a data scientist or a designer or a developer. You're an architect who is crafting a solution for the end user. You're all working in tandem. So I think design thinking definitely is something that should always be at the back, not at the back of your mind. It's embedded in the process, in the workflow. It doesn't stop somewhere. Like it's not just in the beginning when you're trying to lay out the wireframe of your product or looking at the screens. It doesn't end there. It's not something that works in phases. It's not exactly something that comes one after the other in a linear flow. It is a non-linear part. It's a non-linear process, and design thinking is just imbibed in it through and through. Topics in design thinking, I don't think I would uh, consider that specific enough to drop in any recommendations. Um, but like I think I was talking to one of the others who asked about some tools or resources that you could look at for design thinking. Please go to Medium, and you will find a bunch of blogs on the UX design, like that are tagged UX or UX design, and they're usually up to date with the newest things regarding design thinking in products and just applications in general. I think those should help you. Maybe I could think about curating a list of all these resources and putting them out on a global, on a through ChatGPT. We can, of course, yeah, you could do a simple Google search or ChatGPT, Gemini. You have all the tools at your disposal. Just tinker around with them. You'll definitely find something. Talk to your design friends. Ask them what they use, what they're working on.
Okay. Do we have any more questions? Come on, guys. I can see all of you sitting here. That means you all want to ask questions, but you're not asking. What is stopping you guys? Come on, come on.
If there was anything in the slides that you'd like me to refer to, I can reshare as well. And if you're hesitant, I just want to say, don't be it. You're listening. Okay, but I'm pretty much done talking. I'm actually waiting to listen to any more questions that you might have, and if you don't, that's okay too. If you have them running and if you'd like to ask them to me by reaching out later, that is also okay. I'm totally open to that. I hope This has been insightful. Again, we can wait a few minutes if you'd like, or we could wrap it up.
Okay,
Okay,
we have the Torko again.
yes.
Okay, the Torko, you go ahead.
Actually, I don't have much question. Actually, I want to appreciate a fact that the way you speak, we want to listen. Actually,
Oh, that's such a nice compliment. Thank you so much. That
no,
means a lot.
honest. It's honest. Honestly, I want to say. Just I want to ask that you have told about human-centric approach to data science and how to balance with empathy. So could you please elaborate? I
More?
Yeah,
Okay.
that.
Um, as a designer, in my training, in every module that I learned through college, through the projects and internships, and now that I'm working, uh, but personally, my goal is to be able to bring value to whatever process I'm involved in. I think design inherently also works a little along those lines. It it has a function along with the form. It's it's not simply choosing colors and variables and uh, a few lines here or rounding some corners there because it looks good. No, we don't do that. We're rounding it because it makes it uh, softer. It helps you think of it as more welcoming. It maybe doesn't form an impression that the product is a rigid one. So those are some things that we think of when we make design decisions. So, and we do that because we're continuously placing ourselves in the shoes of the end user, consumer, the people who are going to be interacting with it. And it should be usable for them. It plays out in different scenarios. If you're not able to empathize with them in different scenarios, it will be hard for you to design something that caters to them. It's really simple. It's not that complicated. Um, it's a simple thought. If you're designing for someone, if you're providing them a service, they should be at the forefront of it. And when we deal with people on a project, like one of the others mentioned, right? Like it was a good question about how do you balance business goals with user-centric solutions. It's hard, it's difficult, and many times you have to, you know, pick something in the trade-off. That happens. It's very real. It's very human, if I may say.
What will you choose in that situation? Business goals or user centric needs?
Uh, you can't really. It's not an easy answer. See, if I will always advocate for why I'm proposing a solution, how this helps the user, and I cannot present that solution to a stakeholder without telling them that this is how it helps your business. So it's a creative way to present a solution to a problem. Always advocate for the middle grounds if you can. More than I think middle ground may not be the apt word for it, but what I'm trying to say is it's important to be able to balance it from all ends. A product is only coming to a user because a company decided to solve a problem for them, and in that they want to make profits for themselves, which is totally valid. So you need to be able to balance those things. It's an important thing to do. You need to think creatively. The same goes with
Yeah,
design and tech, like devs and designers. We often have these clashes that, okay, we've designed this very complex looking thing and it looks pretty, but how do you really implement it? Like, is it feasible? Do they have enough libraries to support it? Are they using um, the library that has the capability to implement this function or this element in it? And if they can't, if there are constraints, we do have to adapt it. We will propose the next best solution. So my answer would be like, if we can't advocate for what's the best for the user, maybe go with what's the second best for the user. That's a realistic scenario to consider, but also acknowledge that in taking the second best or the third best or whatever, this is going to be compromised. And maybe in the next phase or in the next update, you can address that. So revisit it. Keep room for making those improvements. I think that's a decent way to balance that out.
Thank you.
How can you reach out to me after this session? Um,
Yeah, I think I have shared your LinkedIn
okay,
somewhere in the chat. I'll just copy it and again send it.
sure. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Behance, Medium, anywhere. I don't think I have a very common name either. It should be easy to find me. Thank you, ma'am. Of course, of course. Happy to be here. Glad that I could present this. I don't know if the coordinators are still here. I can't see everyone in the list, but if they are, I would just like to thank the hosts again, and everyone who has stayed so far. Again, if you have any questions,
Another
I'm
question
here.
from my side, like one question
Yes,
from my
please.
side actually.
Please.
What inspired you to be working on these?
Uh, it's a little personal. So
Okay,
the
if you don't want to share it, it's fine.
no. Thank you so much for the question. I'm glad to be able to put this out here. Um, I identify as woman and non-binary, and a lot of my earlier research projects started off as things that I was most motivated about. I'm glad that I had a platform to present uh, my self-driven research case study on gender inclusive UX and e-retail platforms. And that was a major confidence boost for me. I wanted to notice more such biases, if not along the lines of gender. If there were any other kind of biases that were playing out, why were they playing out? One of the things that I noted in my case studies were algorithmic biases. So I wanted to see how data patterns connect to these algorithms that we use. And that's how I got deeper into data. There's also this book that one of my mentors for my graduation project had advised me to read. It's called Invisible Women by Caroline Criado Perez. You should anybody who has a data background should definitely pick that book up. You don't have to go through everything in the book, but I mean, it's obviously good if you do. I think it's a very blood boiling piece of a collection of statistics that tells you how biased and how biased the data is against women and people who are non-binary or are gender diverse, basically people who are not men, and how important it is to consider everyone when we're designing for the masses. It's not fair to be leaving a section out or a big chunk out because that might favor a different section in unfairly, or in a biased way. It, is misadvantageous a word? But yeah, it is to the advantage of some, and it costs somebody else, and that goes unnoticed. It's invisible. So a lot of these hard hitting facts, data points are covered in the book. You should definitely pick it up if you're interested. Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I actually found this book on Amazon. I'm totally going to buy it because I am a
Mhm.
reader. I love to read books. So that
Can you
is on my
please
bucket
repeat?
list next.
Get it on Sci-Hub is not there. LibGen, you'll find it on LibGen. Get a
Yeah, I found it on
rough copy.
Amazon.
Cool. No, I mean, see, it's not that I want to advocate for
No, no,
anything
I'm
with
actually accustomed
borderline
to that
illegal.
particular application.
Sure. Wherever you find your content.
So I think we have another question from Bhavya. While designing some products, how do you know when to stop when you have overdone it or if it is not enough?
Um, if it if it hasn't solved the problem that you were designing for, you know that it's not done yet. And uh, if you once you test it out, you will obviously know if there are any loops missing. But usually, uh, when we work before we work on any of the designs, like we will think of, okay, this is the user flow, and like from one end, like from the start point to the end, in this one flow, in this journey, I need to design a set of, let's say, 10 to 15 screens, and I will work on them accordingly. While doing that, if I feel that, okay, this doesn't sit right with the solution that we had in mind, we can maybe back it up a little, make up some wireframes or do some vibe coding, dirty prototyping to validate our thoughts and design decisions, and we can come back to it and we can take it from there. That's pretty much how we know. We'll also ask for, we'll consult with other designers in the team also. Like if I'm a junior designer, I will reach out to the senior designer in the team, and the lead will also oversee what I'm doing. So we'll always know if we're on the right track or not. And if all of us miss it, the project manager will not miss it. So there are ways to keep our product flows, our thinking flow is also on track, and we approach it with a clear thought. We need to know exactly what we're doing so that we know we've done it and we've completed it. So we know that that's where we need to stop. That is so sweet. Thank you. I'm glad I'm being able to articulate my thoughts well. I want to give you answers that are most relevant to you. So, yes, you have a question. Sure.
Raulo, I think you have a question. Yeah, actually, Yuvna, I think you didn't answer the question. Your articulation is really impressive, and every word you speak is so much relevant and well framed. How do you do it? And I want to learn it too.
Okay.
That's the question.
I think a lot before I speak. I think I feel like I'm on the spot a little with that. I'm really glad. I'm flattered with the compliment. Thank you so much. If I have answers to it, I will be able to uh, present them to you in a way that's most clear and most relevant to you. I want to answer things that that you're looking for. I don't want to leave you with something too vague or too generic unless I don't have the capacity to be able to answer it that way. I want to learn it too. I think it comes with practice. Engage with more people when they ask you questions, or prompt them to ask you more questions. You get pre-screened for a lot of the things that are, possibly going to come up, so you always have that filter running through, and you can easily cut through uh, any other irrelevant details and then skip to what's most important there. Which was asked by Bhavya. While designing some products, how do you know when to stop? I think I answered it.
Yeah,
Was
I,
there
I
something an
think he
extension of
meant
the
the
question?
articulation one. I think he meant
Okay,
the
okay,
articulation.
okay. I hope I've answered that also.
Yeah. Also, Bhavya and Rahul, if you're facing any problems regarding articulation, we have a really amazing society in the ITMBS called Veritas Oratory Society. It conducts Mahasamvad sessions. It's basically discussion sessions that happen every Sunday. So feel free to join the society. Feel free to join those sessions. I host most of them. So I'll be waiting for you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Just another thing. I think it, like you said,
I think you froze. Okay, I think our speaker froze. Is it the same for everybody or is it just for me?
It's the same for me.
Same for everybody.
Maybe network error or
Yeah,
something. That's why.
network issues on her side, maybe. Okay, let's just wait for 2 3 minutes for now. Yeah, everybody who has made it till here, you are successful in the last 15 minutes. So please do fill the feedback form. It's in the pinned message in our chat. Okay, so I think you're back.
I'm sorry, I lost connection.
Yeah,
Uh,
we got
I
it.
just wanted to complete a thought. I was saying that if in your student uh, capacity you find or come across any speaking opportunities, do actively volunteer for those, even if they are small sessions like lightning sessions that are 10 to 15 minutes long, or slightly longer, more researched pieces perhaps, or like 20 to 30 minutes. The more you get these opportunities and you put yourself out there, I think it helps to um, help with uh, help build on those skills of articulation, like you asked. I hope
Yeah,
that
sure.
helps.
Like in public speaking, also, if you want to really start building up your confidence, you should start from online because in online mode, people are just little tiles on your laptop or your on your phone. You can just shut them off at any time. But in offline, it's not the same. It needs practice in offline mode. But yeah, if you are like since you are a BS degree student, please do join Mahasamvad sessions. It is great. I mean, it was my idea actually, the Mahasamvad sessions. But yeah, please do come. I'll be waiting for you guys. So I think we do not have any more questions, and I think we should conclude it right now.
All right.
Okay, so on behalf of Corbett House, it is my privilege as a secretary to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks for today's insightful Baatcheet session from numbers to narratives, skillfully led by Miss Youvna Salian. Yuvna's remarkable expertise in UX design and data storytelling shone through as she guided us on empathetic design, addressing bias, and adopting human centered approaches to data. Her passion for transforming numbers into compelling narratives was truly inspiring, and I believe each of us leaves with valuable perspectives and renewed motivation. I would like to place on record. Yeah, you can find a recording for this session. It's actually being streamed to YouTube, Corbett House's YouTube channel, so you can find it after this session as well. So I would like to place on record our sincere gratitude to Yuvna for the dedication and effort she invested in conceptualizing and delivering this session. Your commitment to sharing knowledge has made this event both memorable and impactful. And to all of our attendees, thank you for your active participation, thoughtful questions, and engagement throughout the session. Your enthusiasm enriched the dialogue and made this gathering truly special. And a special thanks to my Deputy Secretary because Deputy Secretary Yash Pandey because he has handled everything this time. I was a bit inactive. I had many things to look after, so all thanks to him. If he were not here, then this session wouldn't have even happened. So once again, thank you to Yuvna and to everyone who joined us today. May you carry forward fresh insights and inspiration from this evening. Thank you all.
Okay. I suppose that's goodbye.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I suppose that's goodbye. This was really nice.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Okay. It was a great session. I'm really glad I was able to do this. Thank you for moderating it. to the coordinators, and I'm really happy with all the questions that came forward. I think it really helps. It's very encouraging as the one taking the session, or for the speaker, at least for me, to have more questions, because it is a it is an evidence. It's a marker that you're listening to what I'm saying, and that you're finding some value in what I'm trying to bring to you. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. All right. Bye bye. I'm gonna bounce.
Bye, everybody.